Have you ever wondered who is the best combat sports athlete from every country? Well, I did, and decided to look into the combat sports history of almost every country on Earth and find out who their best fighter in history is. Before we get into the list, let's just clarify a few things real quick and get everyone on the same page. Firstly, how are we choosing these picks? In general, we are looking at which athlete from each country has achieved the most in their combat sport. In cases where achievements are close and comparable, I had a hierarchy of combat sports to help with the weighting of achievements based on how closely they simulate real hand-to-hand combat. At the top we have MMA, followed by our high-impact combat sports, your boxing, kickboxing, wrestling, etc., and then your lower impact combat sports such as Olympic taekwondo. If an athlete has had success in multiple high-ranking combat sports, that is going to be looked upon extremely favorably. This is an important note to remember, especially for our powerhouse nations where there are multiple all-time greats. Intersport success will often be the difference maker here. You're also going to see a lot of boxers on this list. Now, this isn't because of some bias I have towards the sport. If anything, I have a slight bias against it. But boxing as a combat sport is both arguably the most popular and oldest in terms of organized history. And on top of that, there is a well-developed amateur pathway encompassing the Olympics. This just all means that there is simply more boxers and more chances for boxers to become accomplished over time compared to any other combat sport. Next, we are looking at where I'm defining where a fighter is from. I would really hate if this video turned into a bit of a pseudo race draft. That is not the point of this video. I'm being fairly loose with how I'm defining where a fighter is from. If they were born there, grew up there, or simply their parents are from there and they are openly proud of their heritage, any of these are valid to me. For example, someone like Ilia Topuria in the UFC, who is of Georgian heritage, was born in Germany and represents Spain, to me he is eligible to any of those countries. And for instances like this, I would pick the country that has the least options of fighters to fit as many great fighters on this list. I can't stress this enough, I don't want to be arguing about arbitrary lines on a map. Now finally, I'm notoriously bad at pronunciation in general, even with familiar English structures with my mumbly Australian accent. Please trust, I've done the due diligence where I can, but with over 180 names, many with linguistic structures I'm not dealing with day to day, I'm just going to be pronouncing a lot of names wrong. I apologize in advance and mean absolutely no disrespect. This video took a ridiculously long time to research and put together, so if you do enjoy it, please make sure to give the video a like, and without further ado, let's jump straight into it. For Afghanistan, we are taking MMA fighter Siya Bahadurzada, who went 24-8 in his MMA career, including 4 wins and a performance of the night in the UFC. For Albania, we are going with MMA fighter and boxer Florian Marku. After a 3-0 stint in MMA, Florian would transition to boxing where he is currently 13-1. In boxing, Florian would win the IBF International Welterweight title and the WBC Silver Interim Welterweight title. For Algeria, we are going with boxer Holcim Soltani, who won a bronze medal in the 1992 Olympics and a gold medal at the 1996 Olympics. For Andorra, we are going with boxer Joan Montan, who competed in the 1976 Olympics. For Angola, we are taking MMA fighter Manuel Cap, who is currently 20-7 in his career thus far and is a former Ryzen and Knockout Championship Bantamweight champion. For the Caribbean nation of Antigua and Barbuda, my pick is Alston Ryan, a boxer who competed in the 2020 Summer Olympics and holds an amateur record of 6-10. Argentina is our first powerhouse nation. On the shortlist, we have Nazareno Malgari, a former 2-time BJJ world champion and MMA veteran. We also have MMA fighter Santiago Ponzinibbio, but when we consider Argentina, it's hard to go past their all-time great boxers from the country. High on the shortlist, we have Nicolino Loche, but ultimately our pick for Argentina will have to go to one of the greatest middleweight boxers of all time, Carlos Monzon. Carlos Monzon is in any reasonable debate for the greatest middleweight boxers of all time. The undisputed middleweight champion for 7 years throughout the 1970s, amassed a record of 87 wins, 3 losses and 9 draws, and he would also avenge all 3 of his losses on his way to the second longest unified championship reign in middleweight history. Carlos would be inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 1990 and was voted as the best middleweight title holder of the last 50 years in 2011 by Ring Magazine. Armenia might just be the best pound-for-pound nation at producing fighters in the world, with one of the craziest shortlists considering the country has a population of less than 3 million. In MMA, we have Arman Tsarukyan and Gegard Musashi, both of Armenian descent. In boxing, we have Vladimir Yengibarian, an Olympic gold medalist who amassed a record of 255 wins to just 12 losses, and Arthur Abram, a former two-weight world champion. However, for Armenia, it's hard to go past arguably the greatest kickboxer of all time, Giorgio Petrosyan. Giorgio Petrosyan is arguably the greatest kickboxer to ever live, with a current record of 106 wins to just 3 losses, 2 draws and 2 no contests. Just some highlights of his accomplishments in kickboxing include a 6-year 42-fight undefeated streak from the start of 2007 to the end of 2013, 2 K1 World Max World Championship tournament victories, as well as tournament victories in One Championship and Glory. Another pound-for-pound combat sports nation is my home country of Australia, with boxing world champions such as Jeff French, Danny Green, Jeff Horn and the Shu family, kickboxing and Muay Thai legends Peter Graham, Sam Greco and John Wayne Parr, and of course MMA world champions Robert Whittaker and our pick for Australia, Alexander Volkanovski. Alexander Volkanovski has claims to being the greatest UFC featherweight of all time, dominating his way to the title, which he would defend 5 times. Volkanovski's currently 26-4 record is filled with victories over many all-time greats, while winning multiple Fighter of the Year awards, as well as being recognized as the pound-for-pound #1 MMA fighter in the world for several months by several outlets. For Austria, we are taking boxer Eva Vorarlberger. Eva has won the WIBF and GBU Super Flyweight Championships, as well as the interim WBC Bantamweight Championship. With a very respectable 26-8 record, Eva has fought the who's who in female boxing. For Azerbaijan, we are taking wrestler Togrul Asgarov. Togrul Asgarov is a 2-time Olympic medalist, winning gold in the 60kg division at the 2012 Olympics and silver in the 65kg division in the 2016 Olympics. Asgarov has also won 2 youth world championships. For the Bahamas, we are taking boxer Alicia Obed, who is a former WBC light middleweight champion. Obed would fight all over the world in their career and amass a 91-22 record. Our pick for Bahrain is BJJ athlete Ali Monfaradi. Ali would win over 150 medals, including a European Open no-gi first place, and was named as Asia's top jiu-jitsu athlete multiple times by multiple outlets. For Bangladesh, we are taking MMA fighter Saj Haq. Saj has won titles in 3 different promotions, with one of those being the very respectable Cage Warriors, and currently holds a record of 16-5. Our pick for the small island nation of Barbados is Panama Joe Garnes. Although quite on the nose representing Panama, Joe Garnes was born in Barbados and we don't have many options. Panama Joe would win the World Coloured Middleweight Championship and hold 2 knockout victories over Tiger Flowers. For Belarus, we are taking MMA legend Andrei Arlovsky. With an over 25-year career in MMA that includes an interim UFC heavyweight title and the most wins in the division's history, Andrei would amass a record of 34-24. On top of his MMA career, Arlovsky would also have impressive credentials in Sambo, earning a silver medal at the Sambo World Cup. Our pick for Belgium is MMA fighter Tarek Safadine, who would have a 16-7 career, including being the last ever Strikeforce welterweight champion. Our pick for Belize is former WBO and IBF junior middleweight champion Verno Phillips. Holding a record of 42-11, Phillips would hold some impressive victories, including one over Corey Spinks. For the African nation of Benin, we will be giving our pick to Shafiq Chateau, a boxer who went to the 2012 Olympics. For Bhutan, we are taking boxer Tashi Wangdi, who has won the Bhutan International Boxing Championships at 49 kilograms. For Bolivia, we are taking MMA fighter Jose Medina, who was the first Bolivian to make it to the UFC and holds a record of 11-4 as of writing and has won titles in Samurai Fighthouse and AFC. Our pick for Bosnia is heavyweight kickboxing veteran Zevard Paturak. Zevard, over his 2 decades of competing, has amassed a record of 47 wins and 35 losses, with notable achievements including a Waco Pro World Low Kick Championship and a K1 Fighting Network tournament win. For Botswana, we are going with Kemogetswe Kanosi, who won gold at the 2022 African Boxing Confederation Championships and competed in the 2020 Olympics. We are now at our next powerhouse nation with Brazil. Where do you even start with Brazil? Honestly, most honorable mentions near would be most countries' first picks, but here we go. First up on the shortlist we have Ida Joffrey, arguably the greatest bantamweight boxer of all time. We have Douglas Bruce, a multiple-time world kumite champion in karate. We have Francisco Filo, another legendary karateka who holds wins over most of the kickboxing heavyweight goats. However, our pick has to go to one of the many MMA legends that come from the nation. Of course, we have Royce and Rickson Gracie, who are pioneers of both BJJ and MMA. We have Amanda Nunes and Chris Cyborg, the two most dominant female champions the sport has ever seen. Jose Aldo and Anderson Silva have two of the longest and most legendary title runs in their respective divisions, but for our pick for the great nation of Brazil, we have to go with kickboxing Hall of Famer and MMA world champion Alex Pereira. Although it was tight, you have to give the pick to someone who has reached the pinnacle of two different combat sports. Quite honestly, both Pereira's kickboxing career or MMA career by themselves would be the pick for most countries, and this guy has had both. As a kickboxer, Pereira would go 33-7 and become the first Glory simultaneous double champion, as well as win a WPG and Jungle Fight championship. In MMA, Pereira is currently 12-2 and has won both the UFC middleweight and light heavyweight championship, and was named the Fighter of the Year for 2022 by multiple outlets. Our pick for the tiny nation of Brunei is Ahmed Faz Anwar, an MMA fighter who is currently 2-0 in the One Warriors series. For Bulgaria, we are going with Sambo and MMA fighter Blagoy Ivanov. Ivanov is an MMA veteran with runs in Bellator, the UFC and the PFL, amassing a record of 27-7. Ivanov also had a successful judo and sambo career, even holding a win over Fedor Emelianenko in the World Sambo Championships. Our pick for Burkina Faso is Ibrahim Idrissa Maiga, who qualified for the 2024 Olympics in taekwondo. Our pick from Burundi is Onela Havarimana, an Olympic boxer who took part in the 2020 Olympics. Our pick for Côte d'Ivoire is Chiksela Chize, a taekwondo athlete who won the gold medal in the 2016 Olympics in the 80 kg category, and the bronze medal in the 2024 Olympics. He has also won the 2023 World Taekwondo Championships. Our pick for Cape Verde is David Dapina, who competed in boxing at the Summer 2020 Olympics. For Cambodia, you just have to pick a Kun Khmer fighter, and I think no one is hot as Theon Tierra. Theon made waves in Muay Thai in 2023, where he was placed first in the world rankings at the 72.5 kg weight category, the first Kun Khmer athlete to be recognized by the World Muay Thai organization. This is a deep topic that is outside the scope of this video, but just trust me, this is a pretty big deal. For Cameroon, we have Francis Ngannou, a former UFC heavyweight champion who has put in admirable performances in the sport of boxing. In general, Francis is one of the hardest hitters in all of combat sports. For Canada, we have who many consider to be the greatest MMA fighter of all time, Georges St-Pierre. Throughout his legendary run in MMA, GSP would accumulate a record of 26-2, with both of his two losses avenged in rematches. GSP is a two-time UFC welterweight champion, with his second run holding the record for the most defenses in the division's history. He also returned from a 4-year hiatus to capture the middleweight title, being one of only a handful of fighters to capture a belt in 2 UFC divisions. For the Central African Republic, we are going with Dieudonné Kossi, a boxer who competed in the 1984 Olympics. For Chad, I'm going with Karine Nalemdana, a judoka who competed in the 2012 Olympic Games and was the flag bearer for the country. For Chile, we are going with boxer Martin Vargas, who challenged for the flyweight world championship 4 times and accumulated an impressive professional record of 91 wins and 15 losses to 3 draws. For China, we have Zhang Weili, a 2-time strawweight champion in the UFC and widely considered to be one of the best female fighters of all time. Zhang Weili is the first ever UFC champion from China and a trailblazer not only for the women of the country but the country itself in MMA. For Colombia, we are going with Miguel Lora, a former WBC bantamweight boxing champion who held the title from 1985 to 1988 and defended the belt 8 times. Throughout his career, Miguel would accumulate a record of 37 wins to 3 losses. For the Republic of Congo, I'm going with Aniset Kanyeba, an MMA fighter who has accumulated a record of 14-10 in the major African promotions. For Costa Rica, we are going with Yocasta Valle, a boxer who has won championships in 3 weight divisions, capturing the IBF Atomweight and WBO and IBF minimum weight titles. Yocasta has accumulated a very impressive record of 32 wins and 3 losses. For one of the easier picks on this list, we are going with one of the greatest combat sports athletes of all time, Mirko Cro Cop. Cro Cop is both a kickboxing and mixed martial arts legend. His kickboxing accomplishments include placing second in the K1 1999 World Grand Prix, and in mixed martial arts include winning the 2006 Pride Openweight Grand Prix, holds the second most wins in the history of Pride Fighting Championships, as well as winning the 2016 Ryzen World Openweight Grand Prix. Cuba is another one of those pound-for-pound great combat sports nations with a near infinite possibility of picks in both boxing and wrestling. But for Cuba, we have to go with Yoel Romero. Romero has had an incredible career in freestyle wrestling, with multiple world championships as well as an Olympic silver medal in the 2000 Olympics. On top of this, Yoel also had a very successful MMA career with a record of 23 wins and 7 losses, and having challenged for a UFC championship. For Cyprus, we are going with Kostas Philippou, a former UFC middleweight who had an MMA career of 13 wins and 5 losses, including victories over Uriah Hall, Tim Bosch and Lorenz Larkin. For the Czech Republic, I'm going with Jiří Procházka, an MMA fighter who was the first ever Ryzen light heavyweight champion and a former UFC light heavyweight champion, who also has the underrated achievement of placing second in the 2015 Ryzen Heavyweight Grand Prix very early in his career. Jiří, as of writing, has amassed a record of 37 wins and 5 losses and is a trailblazer for Czech MMA. On top of this, Jiří has also won gold at the Czech National Muay Thai Championships. For Denmark, we are going with Mark Madsen, who earned a silver medal in the Olympics in Greco-Roman wrestling, who transitioned into MMA and amassed a record of 12-2 with a decent run in the UFC. For the Dominican Republic, I'm going with boxer Hector Luis Garcia, a former WBA super featherweight champion who as of writing has amassed a record of 16-2. For Ecuador, we are going with MMA fighter Marlon Vera, who has been consistently near the top of the UFC bantamweight division for most of his career. Still active as of writing, Marlon Vera has challenged for the UFC bantamweight title, has the most finishes in the division's history, and the second most wins in the division's history. He has a record of 23 wins and 10 losses with a high standard of competition. For Egypt, I'm going with Karem Gaber, a Greco-Roman wrestler who won the gold medal at the 2004 Olympics in the 96 kg category and silver in the 84 kg category in the 2012 Olympics. For El Salvador, we are going with Speedy Flores, a boxer with a current record of 11 wins and 1 loss. For Equatorial Guinea, we are going with Jose Inchama, a judoka who competed in the 2008 Olympics. For Estonia, we are going with Andy Manzolo, an MMA fighter who has competed in like every C-League ever and has amassed an impressive record of 26 wins and 10 losses. For Eswatini, our pick is Thabiso Dlamini, a boxer who competed in the 2020 Olympics. For Ethiopia, we are going with boxer Saifu Makonnen, a 2-time Olympian. For Finland, our pick is Makwan Armakani, a mixed martial artist who spent 8 years in the UFC lightweight division and earned 3 performances of the night. Tough one for France, with a very close honourable mention going to Jerome Labana and Cyril Gane, but ultimately we are going with Teddy Riner, who is arguably the greatest judoka to ever live. Riner has won 2 individual Olympic gold medals and has won the World Championships a record 10 times. Our pick for Gabon is Anthony Obame, a taekwondo practitioner who won silver in the 2012 Olympic Games, the country's first ever Olympic medal. For Gambia, we are going with Ibrahima Mane, a currently 13-5 MMA fighter who has competed in Bellator and the PFL. For Georgia, we are taking Merab Devashvili, who as of writing is the current UFC bantamweight champion who has a record of 18 wins and 4 losses. Merab holds dominant victories over some of the best of all time in MMA, including victories over Henry Cejudo and Jose Aldo. For Germany, we are going with former heavyweight champion boxer Max Schmeling. Schmeling is probably best known for his fights against Joe Louis and winning the World Heavyweight Championship via a low blow, but he did have a remarkable career of 56 wins and 10 losses and was named in the Ring magazine's 100 Greatest Punchers of All Time. For Ghana, we have to go with Azuma Nelson, a former 2-weight world champion in boxing, having held the WBC featherweight and super featherweight world titles. He is often regarded as the greatest African boxer of all time, amassing a record of 39 wins and 6 losses. For Greece, it's hard to go past Mike Zambidis, a kickboxer with 157 wins to 24 losses. He is recognized as an 18-time world champion, notably winning the 2002 K1 World Max Oceania tournament, beating John Wayne Parr in the tournament final. For the island nation of Grenada, we are going with Bernard Wilson, a boxer who competed in the 1984 Summer Olympics and was the country's first ever flag bearer. For Guinea, we are going with Fatoma Yari Kamara, a wrestler who competed in the 2020 Olympic Games and won a bronze medal in the African Wrestling Championships. For Guinea-Bissau, we are going with Augusto Midana, a 6-time African champion in freestyle wrestling who has competed in 4 Olympic Games. For Guyana, we are going with Carlston Harris, an MMA fighter who is a former Brave CF champion and has earned 2 Performance of the Night bonuses in the UFC. For Haiti, we are going with boxer Andre Berto, who is American-born by 2 Haitian immigrants. Andre Berto is a former WBC and IBF welterweight champion who amassed a record of 32 wins and 6 losses. At his peak, he was ranked 3rd in the division, only behind Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather Jr. For Honduras, we are going with Greco-Roman wrestler Kevin Major, who won gold at the 2021 Pan American Wrestling Championships and competed in the 2024 Olympic Games. For Hungary, we are going with Greco-Roman wrestler Istvan Kozma, who won the gold medal in the 1964 and 1968 Olympic Games in the 97 kg category, as well as being a 3-time world champion. For Iceland, we have Gunnar Nelson, a Brazilian jiu-jitsu grappler who placed 2nd in the World Jiu-Jitsu Championships as a brown belt, but is best known for his MMA career where he holds the most submission victories in the UFC's welterweight division and has 5 Performance of the Night bonuses. For India, we are going with freestyle wrestler Sushil Kumar, a 2-time Olympic medalist, former world champion and 3-time Commonwealth Games gold medalist. For Indonesia, we are going with MMA fighter Bilal Hassan, an American-born Indonesian who at the time of writing is the Cage Fury flyweight champion, and one of the more exciting prospects in the division. For Iran, we are going with freestyle wrestler Hassan Yazdani, who has 3 Olympic medals including a gold at the 2016 Olympics and is a 3-time world champion. Hassan holds over 20 gold medals in wrestling competitions and has a senior record of 128 wins and only 8 losses. For Iraq, I'm picking Ryder Al-Azawi, a kickboxer who won the 2008 Kickboxing Network World Championship. Ryder has also won a multitude of WACO and ISKA heavyweight championships and holds a kickboxing record of 51 wins and 0 losses. For Ireland, I'll be picking Conor McGregor. In his 22-6 MMA career thus far, McGregor has been a champion of both the featherweight and lightweight divisions, simultaneously in both Cage Warriors and the UFC. He has also competed against all-time great boxer Floyd Mayweather Jr. and gave a good account for himself in another discipline. For Israel, we are going with MMA fighter Nawad Lahat. Nawad Lahat is a pioneer for Israeli MMA and being one of the first from his country to reach the UFC. In his 13-5 MMA career, Nawad achieved 2 wins in the UFC and 4 in Bellator. If I could put Giorgio Petrosyan on this list twice, I would, but for Italy we are going with MMA fighter Marvin Vettori. As of writing, Marvin Vettori has a record of 19-7, and during his peak he would be considered a top UFC middleweight and has challenged for the division's belt. For Jamaica, we are going with Trevor Berbick, a legendary heavyweight boxer who won the WBC Heavyweight Championship in 1986. He is likely best known for his victory over Muhammad Ali and loss to Mike Tyson. The powerhouse nation of Japan was one of the more difficult countries to make a pick for. I considered boxer Naoya Inoue, judoka Tadahiro Nomura, MMA fighter Kazushi Sakuraba, and of course kickboxers Musashi and Takaru. But I'm going to lead into the criteria of this list and make what I'm guessing is the controversial pick of kickboxer and boxer Tenshin Nasukawa. Tenshin, at still only 26 as of writing, has competed as a kickboxer, boxer and MMA fighter, with his only loss since going pro being an exhibition match against Floyd Mayweather Jr. In kickboxing, Tenshin holds a record of 42 wins and 0 losses, and is considered one of the greatest kickboxers in the sport's history. Tenshin was at the forefront of Organization Rise, on its way to becoming one of the top kickboxing organizations in the world. Tenshin is currently 5-0 as a professional boxer and has seemed to make the transition smoothly thus far. For Jordan, we are going with taekwondo competitor Ahmed Abagush, who won the country's first ever gold medal in the 2016 Olympics. For Kazakhstan, we are going with boxer Gennady Golovkin. In a legendary professional career of 42 wins and 2 losses, Triple G would unify the WBC, IBF, and WBA middleweight championship and hold the unified title for 3 years. During points in this run, Triple G would be considered the best pound-for-pound boxer in the world. For Kenya, we are going with Robert Wangila, a boxer who won the welterweight gold medal at the 1988 Summer Olympics. For Kuwait, we are going with Mohammed Al-Kwa, an MMA fighter who currently has a record of 7-1, including 2 wins in the PFL. For Kyrgyzstan, we are going with kickboxer and MMA fighter Valentina Shevchenko. Valentina is a Russian master of sports in taekwondo, Muay Thai, boxing, kickboxing, and judo. As a professional kickboxer, Valentina holds a record of 57 wins and 3 losses, and as an MMA fighter, she is 24-4. Valentina is a 2-time UFC flyweight champion, having defended the title 7 times in her first reign. For Laos, we are going with MMA fighter Andrei Sukumtov, a first-generation American of Laotian descent. Andrei holds 2 wins in the UFC and holds a Fight of the Night award. For Latvia, we are going with boxer Marius Briedis, who was the first ever Latvian to hold a world boxing title, having held the IBF, Ring, WBC, and WBO cruiserweight titles throughout his career. Marius holds a boxing record of 31 wins and 3 losses and was awarded the Order of 3 Stars, the highest civilian order awarded to Latvian citizens. For Lebanon, we are going with MMA fighter John Makdessi, who is a first-generation Canadian born to Lebanese parents. Makdessi spent more than 10 years in the UFC and fought a total of 20 times, winning 11 of them. For the Central African nation of Lesotho, we are going with boxer Moroki Makoto, who competed in the 2016 Olympics and won silver at the 2014 African Games. For Liberia, we are going with MMA fighter Dwight Joseph, who currently holds a record of 14-2. Dwight has won in Dana White's Contender Series, the LFA, and has won the bantamweight title at A1 Combat. For Libya, we are going with boxer Malik Zinad, a 22-1 professional who has held the WBC Mediterranean and WBA Continental Championship, as well as the IBO Continental Light Heavyweight title. For Liechtenstein, we are going with Johannes Wohlwend, a judoka who competed at the 1988 Olympics. For Lithuania, we are going with multi-combat sport athlete Sergei Maslobojev, who will likely be best remembered for his kickboxing career, where he is a 49-8 former Glory light heavyweight champion. On top of his success in kickboxing, he has also competed as a boxer, amassing a record of 10-3, and has competed as an MMA fighter with a 17-6 record. For Luxembourg, we are going with MMA fighter Jan Lias, who in a 9-3 career has competed in Brave, KSW, and Cage Warriors. For Madagascar, we are going with Fetra Ratsimiviva, a judoka who competed at the 2012 Olympics and won silver at the 2011 African Judo Games. For Malawi, we are going with boxer Isaac Chilemba. In a 40-10 career, Isaac would hold the IBO Super Middleweight title from 2010 to 2011, as well as challenge for the WBA, IBF, and WBO Light Heavyweight titles in 2016. For Malaysia, we are going with MMA fighter Alagan Tani, who had a 13-9 career in MMA, including a great debut run which would eventuate in challenging for One Championship's welterweight championship. For the Maldives, we are going with Mohamed Raid, a Muay Thai fighter who competed in the Thailand Fighting Championship. For Mali, we are going with Muay Thai fighter Bampara Coyote, a former French national Muay Thai champion and WMC European Muay Thai champion. Bampara also competes in One Championship's Muay Thai division and as of writing has a 3-1 record in the promotion. For Malta, we are picking boxer Haitham Lamuz, who in his 17-1 career has held the European Union Super Featherweight title. For the Marshall Islands, we are going with Waylon Muller, a freestyle wrestler who competed and was chosen to be the flag bearer for the Marshall Islands in the 2008 Olympics. For Mauritania, we are going with Omar Sambasai, a Greco-Roman wrestler who competed at both the 1984 and 1988 Olympic Games. For Mauritius, we are going with Muay Thai fighter Ranini Kundaswamy, a multiple-time world champion in both Muay Thai and Kun Kumar. Ranini has also competed in Savate, Kyokushin, and Taekwondo, with her interdisciplinary record listed at 46 wins and 9 losses. Mexico is our next powerhouse nation in combat sports, and as much as I wanted to put in MMA standouts Brandon Moreno or Alexa Grasso, I think the only real answer here is legendary boxer Julio Cesar Chavez. In Julio's 25-year career, he would become a multiple-time world champion over 3 weight divisions, and be listed as the pound-for-pound best boxer in the world for much of the early 90s. Julio's 115-6 record, incredible as is, included an 87-fight win streak before drawing with Pernell Whitaker. Julio also holds a number of impressive records in the sport of boxing, including most total defenses of world titles, most title fights, and the second most title defenses won by knockout. For Micronesia, we are going with boxer and MMA fighter Jennifer Cheng, who competed in the 2006 Summer Olympics and has since transitioned into MMA, competing in Bellator and Invicta in a 1-2 record. For Moldova, we are going with freestyle wrestler, BJJ athlete and MMA fighter Alexander Romanov. In MMA, Alexander holds a record of 21 wins to 3 losses, with 7 of those wins taking place in the heavyweight division of the UFC. For Monaco, we are going with Hugo Mikhailov, a boxing prospect who is currently 10-0. For Mongolia, we are going slightly left field and taking sumo wrestler Hakuho Sho. Hakuho Sho is widely regarded as one of the greatest sumo wrestlers of all time, and in his time competing has won 1,187 contests and has 16 undefeated tournaments, 8 more than any other sumo wrestler in history. For Montenegro, we are going with boxer Dejan Zlatakanin, who in his 28-4 career became the first Montenegrin boxer to win a boxing world title, holding the WBC lightweight title from 2016 to 2017. For Morocco, we are going with kickboxing great Badr Hari. Badr Hari is widely considered to be one of the best heavyweight kickboxers of all time, with his 106 wins in the sport including the names of some of the best the sport has ever seen. Badr Hari is a former K1 heavyweight champion and a 2-time K1 Grand Prix runner-up. For Mozambique, we are going with judoka Kevin Laforte, who competed in the 2020 Summer Olympics and has won a bronze medal at the 2021 African Judo Championships. For Myanmar, we are taking MMA fighter Aung Lang Sang. Aung Lang Sang is a former 2-division champion in one championship, holding their middleweight and light heavyweight titles simultaneously. Still currently active, he holds a 45-14 record in MMA and was named the 2018 International Fighter of the Year. For Namibia, we are going with boxer Julius Indongo, a former WBA, IBF and IBO junior welterweight champion who amassed a professional record of 24 wins and 7 losses. For the tiny island nation of Nauru, we are going with judoka Uvini Ura, who competed in the 2016 Olympic Games. For Nepal, we are going with MMA fighter Rabindra Dant, who is currently 7-1 in the sport, including going 1-1 in one championship. For our next powerhouse nation of the Netherlands, we are littered with choices, with the golden era of K1 coming to mind straight away. We have names like Shemi Schilt, Ernesto Hoos, Remy Bonjasky and Peter Ertz coming to mind. But for the Netherlands, we are taking kickboxer and MMA fighter Alistair Overeem. As a kickboxer, Overeem is only 10-3, but in those 10 wins he has won a K1 World Grand Prix and beat some of the best kickboxers of all time. In MMA, Overeem is 47-19, and has won the heavyweight title in Strikeforce and Dream, as well as challenging for a UFC title. It's rare that you see a fighter reach the top of 2 sports, and for me this puts Overeem at the top of one of the greatest combat nations of all time. For New Zealand, we are taking kickboxer and MMA fighter Israel Adesanya. As a kickboxer, Adesanya had a successful career challenging and coming close to a glory middleweight title. In MMA, however, Adesanya is a 2-time UFC middleweight champion and has won multiple honors that put him at the top of a generation in the sport. For Nicaragua, we are going with boxing legend Roman Gonzalez. Roman is a 4-division world champion in the minimum weight, light flyweight and super flyweight divisions. In a 52-4 career, he was ranked as the pound-for-pound best boxer in the world by multiple outlets from 2015 to 2017. For Niger, we are going with taekwondo athlete Nordine Isaka, who won gold at the 2023 African Games and African Championships. For Nigeria, we are taking note of MMA fighter Kamaru Usman, but we are going with boxer Dick Tiger, who held the undisputed middleweight and light heavyweight championships. In Tiger's 60-19 career, he would be named Fighter of the Year in 1962 and 1965, as well as in 2002 being named by Ring Magazine as the 31st greatest fighter of the last 80 years. For North Korea, we have judoka Kei Sun-hui, who won Olympic gold at the 1996 Olympics, bronze in the 2000 Olympics, and silver in 2004, as well as winning the World Championships 4 times between 2001 and 2007. For North Macedonia, we are taking taekwondo athlete Dejan Georgijevski, who won the silver medal at the 2020 Olympic Games. For Norway, we are going with MMA fighter Joachim Hansen, who in a 23-14 career became the first Scandinavian to hold a recognized MMA world title after winning the Shooto World Lightweight Championship, and he would later become the Dream Lightweight Champion. For Oman, we are going with MMA fighter Abdulmajid Al-Bulushi, who won a title at the Dubai International Amateur Martial Arts Championship. For Pakistan, we are going with MMA fighter Ismail Khan, who holds a 9-1 record with 2 of those wins taking place in one championship. For Palestine, I'm going to give it to Belal Muhammad, who often represents Palestine. Belal, as of writing, is the current UFC welterweight champion and has amassed a career record of 24 wins and 3 losses. For Panama, we have to go with legendary boxer Roberto Duran. Roberto Duran is widely regarded as one of the greatest boxers of all time. In his over 30-year career, he would hold championships in 4 weight classes, and in 2002, the Ring magazine would list him as the 5th greatest fighter of the last 80 years. In his legendary career, he would amass a record of 103 wins to 16 losses. For Papua New Guinea, we are going with MMA fighter Adrian Pang, who in his 23-13 career would win multiple titles in the Oceania MMA scene. For Paraguay, we are going with MMA fighter Alex Sanchez, who is currently 10-6 with 3 of those wins in the PFL. For Peru, we are taking MMA fighter Claudio Puelles, who is currently 12-4 and the runner-up of the Ultimate Fighter Latin America Season 3 and is currently 5-3 in the UFC. For the great combat sports nation of the Philippines, we technically have many options, but the only real choice is Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao is widely regarded as one of the best boxers of all time and is the sport's only recognized 8-division world champion, having won 12 major world titles. In Pacquiao's 62-8 career, he would also become the first boxer to hold world championships across 4 decades, and was recognized as the pound-for-pound best boxer in the world multiple times throughout his career. In 2024, ESPN ranked Pacquiao as the greatest Asian athlete of the 21st century. For Poland, we are going with Muay Thai kickboxer and MMA legend Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Joanna is a 4-time Muay Thai world champion and holds a combined Muay Thai kickboxing record of 70 wins and 6 losses. In MMA, Joanna is a UFC Hall of Famer and former UFC strawweight champion with 5 defenses in a 21-5 record. For Portugal, we are going with boxer Santa Camaro, the 6'8" heavyweight boxer who had amassed a record of 69 wins and 20 losses in the early 1900s. For Qatar, we are going with Abdul Qadir Hikmat, a taekwondo athlete who won gold at the 2006 Asian Games and competed at the 2008 Olympics. For Romania, we are taking boxer Lucian Bute, a former IBF super middleweight champion from 2007 to 2012 who amassed a record of 32-5. Russia is our next powerhouse nation and we have a wide range of options to get through, from Alexander Karlin to Buvasir Satiev in Greco and freestyle wrestling. Special note to the Dagestani crew in MMA, but for me I can't go past Combat Sambo and MMA legend Fedor Emelianenko. In Combat Sambo, Fedor is a 3-time world champion and a 6-time Russian champion. In MMA, Fedor is widely regarded as one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, being the Pride and Rings heavyweight champion during his run. In his over 20-year 40-7 career, he would be listed as the 2000s Fighter of the Decade by multiple outlets and become a symbol of the golden age of the Japanese MMA promotions. For Rwanda, we are going with boxer Patrick Kinigamazi, who in a 32-3 career would hold the African lightweight title and WBF super featherweight title from 2016 to 2020. For Samoa, we are going with boxer David Tua, who in his 52-5 career would be ranked as high as the 3rd best heavyweight boxer in the late 1990s. David Tua is known for his legendary KO power and iron chin, having never been finished in his career. For San Marino, we are going with wrestler Miles Amin, who represents the country via citizenship and won the bronze medal at the 2020 Olympic Games. For Saudi Arabia, we are going with MMA fighter Abdullah Al-Khatini, who is currently 10-4 and won the 2024 PFL MENA tournament. For Senegal, we are going with mixed martial artist Umar Khan. Umar is currently 7-1 in MMA and has won the One Championship heavyweight title. For Serbia, we are taking MMA fighter Darko Stosic, who is currently 21-7 and is a former FFC champion as well as competing in the UFC and KSW. For the East African nation of Seychelles, we are going with boxer Andrek Alisop, who competed at both the 2012 and 2014 Olympics. For Sierra Leone, we are going with boxer Leonard Bundu, who went 33-2 in his professional career and is a two-time European welterweight champion. For Singapore, we are going with Canadian-born mixed martial artist Angela Lee, who also represents Singapore. Angela Lee is One Championship's first atomweight champion and went undefeated in the division before retiring with an 11-3 record. She is currently the holder of the longest championship reign in One Championship history. For Slovakia, we are picking Kempo karate practitioner and MMA fighter Alita Ver. As a karateka, he would win the World and European Championships, and as an MMA fighter, he is currently 33-10 and is a former Bellator light heavyweight champion. For Slovenia, we are going with judoka Aljaz who is a former bronze medalist in the European Championships and competed in the 2008 and 2012 Olympic Games. For the Solomon Islands, we are going with MMA fighter Stuart Nicol, who is currently 8-1 and has competed in the UFC. For Somalia, we are going with boxer Ramla Ali, who went 11-2 in her career and was the first Somalian-born boxer to compete in the Olympic Games. As a pro, she would challenge for the WBC Super Bantamweight title. South Africa is a sleeper powerhouse nation and boxer Brian Mitchell deserves a mention. But for South Africa, we are going with MMA fighter Dricus du Plessis. Dricus is a former EFC and KSW welterweight champion and UFC middleweight champion. On top of his impressive MMA credentials, he is also a gold medalist in the Waco Junior World Championships in amateur kickboxing. For South Korea, we were really close to going with stun gun Donghyun Kim, but we decided ultimately to go with kickboxer and MMA fighter the Korean Zombie Chang Sung-jun. In his kickboxing career, the Korean Zombie would go 15-6, and in MMA he would go 17-8. The Korean Zombie would challenge for the UFC featherweight belt twice and win a multitude of performance bonuses. For South Sudan, we are going with MMA fighter Mohamed Juma, who is currently 9-7 in his career and has competed in the PFL Challenger Series and UAW Warriors. For Spain, we are going to mention boxer Kiko Martinez, but ultimately we are going with MMA fighter Ilia Topuria. As of writing, Ilia is an undefeated MMA fighter with 16 wins and is the UFC featherweight champion. For Sri Lanka, we are going with boxer Kiranka Rangasinghe, who won the bronze medal at the South Asian and Commonwealth Games. For Sudan, we are taking boxer Muhammad Hamad, who competed in the 1988 Summer Olympics. For Suriname, we are going with kickboxer and MMA fighter Jairzinho Rozenstruik. As a kickboxer, Rozenstruik went 76-8, and as an MMA fighter, he is currently 15-5, having competed in Ryzen and the UFC. For Sweden, I want to mention boxer Badu Jack, but our pick for Sweden is MMA fighter Alexander Gustafsson. In Gustafsson's MMA career, he would go 18-8 and challenge for the UFC light heavyweight title 3 times. He is often regarded as one of the best mixed martial artists to never win a major MMA title. For Switzerland, we have karateka and legendary kickboxer Andy Hug. As a karateka, Hug would win a multitude of championships, notably the 1992 Karate World Cup. As a kickboxer, Hug would go 37-9, win the 1996 K1 World Grand Prix, and place runner-up in the following 2 Grand Prix. Hug is widely regarded as one of the greatest kickboxers of all time. For Syria, we are going with MMA fighter Tarek Suleiman, who is currently 13-9 and has competed in Brave and the PFL. For Tajikistan, we are taking undefeated MMA prospect Nurullo Aliyev, who is currently 10-0 with 2 wins in the UFC as of writing. For Tanzania, we are taking boxer Hassan Wakinyo, who is currently 21-3 and has held the WBF Intercontinental Light Middleweight Championship twice. Our next powerhouse nation is Thailand, and we are extremely spoilt for choice from the home of Muay Thai. Multi-discipline world champion Stamp Fairtex deserves special mention, as well as kickboxer and Muay Thai standout Bukau. But our pick for Thailand is the legendary Samat Payakarun. Samat is widely regarded as one of the greatest Muay Thai fighters to ever live, becoming a 4-division Lumpini Stadium champion during the golden age of Muay Thai. On top of his legendary run in Muay Thai, Samat would also succeed in Western boxing, winning the WBC World Super Bantamweight title. As a Muay Thai fighter, Samat went 130-18, and as a boxer, Samat went 21-2. For Timor-Leste, we are going with MMA fighter Abro Fernandez, who went 9-2 in his career, and he would win the One Pride MMA Bantamweight Championship and pick up 2 wins in one championship. For Togo, we are going with boxer Sabu Balugu, who went 8-8 in his professional career. For Tonga, we are going with boxer Wolf Graham, who won the silver medal at the 1996 Olympic Games and went 20-4 in his professional career. For Trinidad and Tobago, we are going with boxer Claude Noel, who is a former WBA lightweight champion and went 31-10 in his professional career. For Tunisia, we are picking taekwondo athlete Faraz Katoussi, who won the Olympic gold medal at the 2024 Olympic Games and is a 2-time African champion. For Turkey, we are taking Muay Thai kickboxer and mixed martial artist Gökhan Saki. Saki went 82-10 as a Muay Thai kickboxer, where he would be the 2003 World Muay Thai champion and is a former Glory light heavyweight champion. He also had tournament wins in both Glory and K1. Saki would also compete in the UFC, gaining a win in the organization. For Turkmenistan, we are going with MMA fighter Davletjan Yagmisharadov, who is currently 25-7 and is a former ACA light heavyweight champion and the 2024 PFL light heavyweight tournament champion. For Tuvalu, we are going with boxer Fu Tu, who competed at the 2022 Commonwealth Games and won bronze at the 2019 Pacific Games. For Uganda, we are taking boxer John Mugabe, who went 42-7 in his professional career and was a former WBC Super Welterweight champion. As an amateur, he would also win a medal at the 1980 Olympic Games. Ukraine is another sleeper powerhouse nation, and I wasn't too far from putting kickboxer and MMA pioneer Igor Vovchanchin, but ultimately we couldn't go past boxing standout Alexander Usyk. Usyk is an Olympic gold medalist and undefeated professional who is only the 3rd male boxer ever to be undisputed champion of 2 weight classes in the 4-belt era. Usyk is currently 23-0 and is widely regarded to be the greatest heavyweight in the modern era of boxing. For the United Arab Emirates, we are taking Russian-born wrestler and MMA fighter Khamzat Chimaev. As a freestyle wrestler, Khamzat is a 3-time Swedish national champion. As an MMA fighter, Khamzat currently holds an undefeated record of 14-0. Our next powerhouse nation is the United Kingdom. In MMA, we have UFC champions Michael Bisping, Leon Edwards, and Tom Aspinall. But for the UK, we really do have to pick a boxer. Just missing out, we have Joe Calzaghe, but ultimately we have to go with the legendary Lennox Lewis. Representing Canada as an amateur and winning an Olympic gold medal, Lewis would declare himself a Brit as a professional and have a career of 41 wins to 2 losses, holding the undisputed heavyweight title and becoming a 3-time world champion. Lewis is widely regarded as one of the greatest heavyweight boxers to ever live and would avenge each of his 2 losses in dominant fashion. 2 powerhouse nations in a row, and we land at probably the most powerhouse nation in the United States of America. It'd be easy to go for a boxing great such as Sugar Ray Robinson or Muhammad Ali, a wrestler like John Smith, Gordon Ryan from BJJ deserves a mention, and of course our MMA standouts such as John Jones and Demetrius Johnson. With so many all-time greats, I think the only fair thing to do is look at these athletes and who did it over 2 sports, and that's why for the United States of America, I'm going with wrestler and mixed martial artist Henry Cejudo. As a freestyle wrestler, Cejudo won Olympic gold at the 2008 Olympics. In MMA, he currently has a record of 16-4 and is a former simultaneous UFC flyweight and bantamweight champion, becoming the first male athlete to defend the title in 2 different weight classes in the organization. Due to reaching the pinnacle of 2 combat sports, Cejudo is widely regarded as one of the greatest combat sports athletes of all time. For Uruguay, we are taking mixed martial artist Gaston Reno, who went 9-2 in his career and has wins in Combate Global and Bellator. For Uzbekistan, we are taking MMA fighter Bogdan Guskov, who is currently 17-3 and includes 3 wins in the UFC as of writing. For Vanuatu, we are taking boxer Lionel Warawara, who competed in the 2016 Olympic Games and won silver at the Oceania Championships in 2017. For Venezuela, we are taking boxer Bertulio Gonzalez, who in his 76-12 career would win the WBC and WBA flyweight championship during the 1970s. For Vietnam, we are taking kickboxer and MMA fighter Kung Lee. As a kickboxer, Kung Lee went 17-0 and is a former International Kickboxing Federation light heavyweight world champion. As an MMA fighter, Kung Lee went 9-3 and is a former Strikeforce middleweight champion. For Yemen, we are taking BJJ grappler Osama Al-Mawai, who won the No-Gi Black Belt World Championships in 2022. For Zambia, we have boxer Esther Firi, who went 14-1 in her professional career and held the WIBA and WIBF super lightweight titles. And finally, we have our last nation of Zimbabwe, and we are taking MMA fighter Temba Garimbo, who is currently 14-5 in his career, is a former EFC champion and currently has 4 wins in the UFC. Okay, so there we have it, the greatest combat sports athlete for almost every country in the world. We did skip out on a handful of smaller countries where I literally couldn't find any combat sports athlete, but hey, we hit most of them. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, it helps me out a lot, and I'll see you all in the next video.